Welcome, everyone, to Old Roommates. It's a new year and a whole new episode. We're starting big with Reality Bites from 1994. Join us for this exciting, all-new episode. Have your big gulp in hand. Things are about to begin.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
And I almost forgot our tagline. It's been so long. I'm just kidding. We took last week off. How was your New Year's, Brian?
You know what? I barely remember it.
Oh,
How was yours?
That sounds good to me. Yeah, I'm very happy to be in 2023.
I know. All good things.
All good things. So we are starting off our new year revisiting Reality Bites, starring Winona Ryder, Ethan Hawke, Ben Stiller, Janeane Garofalo, Steve Zahn, all kinds of people.
Yeah.
And Brian, I want to know what your history with Reality Bites.
Well, thank you for asking. So I saw this movie opening weekend, not went to brag, 1994. And so if Wikipedia is to be believed, this was released on February 18th, 1994.
Oh my gosh.
So that was right before my birthday.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if you went for your birthday.
I don't know. I know I went with Naomi
Uh-huh.
and our friend Kim. And I think our friend Sue. And I remember this vividly because I loved the movie. But then after the movie, I know you know the story, Christina.
Mm-hmm.
After the movie, I stood up to exit and I was like, oh no, something's wrong with the sound of the movie. It was like really loud and like annoying. And I'm like, is it the music? What's going on? And I said to Naomi, why is it like this? Why is the sound like this? She's like, what are you talking about? And then I realized that my feet felt very heavy. Oh. And then I felt like a helicopter in my ears.
Oh.
And then my vision started getting like really warped. And I was basically fainting in slow motion.
Oh my gosh.
This led me on to such a health spiral trying to figure out. I basically had to like lay on the ground outside the movie theater. Well, I went into the bathroom first.
Embarrassing.
I know. Well, I ran into the bathroom because I thought I was going to puke. And then I did, and I splashed cold water on my face, and I was like stumbling. So people were looking at me like, what is wrong with him? And then I went outside, and I truly like laid on the steps of the movie theater, outside, concrete steps. February,
gosh.
By the way.
In February, oh my
in
gosh,
New England. Yeah. And Kim had walked out, and she's like, I have a Jolly Rancher. Maybe your sugar's low. I took the Jolly Rancher, and I did feel fine shortly thereafter. But, like, it was called a vasovagal seizure. Mm-hmm. And basically, if anyone is aware or has experienced this or has not, like, it's basically everything but the full faint. Like, it's like your senses are shutting down.
Oh, my
and
God.
you're just
so
being
scary.
Brought to the ground. But you don't actually pass out. But it took a lot of, like, EEGs and all these tests to figure out what had actually happened. Since then, I've had, like, maybe 10 or, I don't know, maybe 20. I don't even know. It was a long time. They don't happen that frequently. But I definitely am more aware of them, and I can catch them more easily. But that was a big thing. But all of that...
So were you thinking, after this happened, Jesus, Reality Bites?
No, and it's funny because I have to be honest, I didn't dislike the movie because of it. No. I really loved this movie. I loved all the players. I loved Janeane Garofalo. Mm-hmm. She was such like a discovery with this movie. Mm-hmm. But I just loved it. I laughed at a lot of laugh out loud moments. And I did remember thinking Ethan Hawke was just a scumbag and that he probably had body odor. Mm-hmm. That was like a big vibe I got. But that was really. But I think like the health stuff sort of trumped the movie. But I did love it. I remember loving it. Christina, how about you?
Thank you for finally asking. I'm sorry I don't have a dramatic story to add to my first viewing of Reality Bites. I believe I also saw it in the movie theater, and I really loved this movie as well. It was to me back then. It was funny. It was relatable. I liked all the characters. I agree with you about Ethan Hawke's character. I did like him, and I wanted them together. I remember that. I felt like they should be together because I think that's kind of how all like the 80s / early 90s movies worked anyway. But yeah, there was something about him, like he wasn't charming. He wasn't very likable.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I think he was just trying to be like that cooler than school kind of.
Yeah.
I'm so smart and I'm so awesome. And that kind of worked for me back then.
Yeah.
But I remember just him being, I don't know, I didn't love him, but I still wanted them together.
Okay.
Somehow.
Yeah.
But I did like the movie, and I thought, I remember Ben Stiller's character I didn't like at all.
Interesting. Okay.
And I loved Janine Garofalo.
Yeah.
I liked Winona Ryder. I mean, what's not to like about Winona Ryder?
Right.
Like, she's just sort of like everybody's girl, right?
Yeah.
So I liked her as well. So in the movie itself, I thought it was kind of neat how they're just getting out of college and they're trying to find their way, and she's trying to make a documentary, and I liked that whole angle of it, trying to find a job and just even having to find ways to make money because they weren't employable after they got out of college.
Yeah.
That I thought that was an interesting take. But yeah, I mean, so I did like it. I liked it. I've seen it several times since.
Oh, you have?
But it's been a long time.
Yeah, I feel like I've only seen it maybe a couple times, and it was soon after. Like, it was as soon as it came out on DVD or VHS or whatever. I think I even probably had the VHS tape.
I mean,
I'm thinking about this now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, when was that? It was 94?
Would it have been DVD? I don't even know.
Was it 94?
Yeah.
So I probably have not seen it since 2000.
Oh, for sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's been that long.
It's been over 20 years.
It's been quite a while.
Yeah.
But I did watch it a few times after, I think.
Yeah.
What about
when
now?
was that? Yeah, I know. So when did you rewatch it?
I rewatched it just not too long ago, a few days ago.
Yeah. I watched it about a week ago. I have some thoughts.
Let's hear it then.
my big note, and it's a lot of my notes, is Winona Ryder. I really have loved her. I loved her in Heathers. I liked her in Mermaids. I liked her in so many things. And, I mean, even recently, there's been this viral clip of her going around when she was Bjork on a 2002 episode of Saturday Night Live. And she's hilarious.
Well, and she's in Stranger Things now.
Oh, right, yeah. I don't really like her in that. I didn't like her in season 1. But I struggled a lot with her character. Anytime a movie starts out, it had a similar start, like Say Anything, where it's like the valedictorian or the top in her class, is doing the big speech. And when she ever says the answer is, I don't know, and people cheer, it's very Gen X. It's very much our generation.
Yes.
I get it. But I think because she's valedictorian, and she does sort of seem like she knows it all. She seems a little bit above things. Like she mentions in this film, she's not going to work at the Gap. She's not going to work at Burger World, Burgerama. And she has some very strong feelings about this. But at the same time, she totally forgets the coffee of the TV host, which is part of her job. She's she's very flaky.
She is very flaky.
And I had a hard time. I was like, wow, if she's the valedictorian, who was worse? Who was the worst in class? Because that is probably very scary personality. Like, I just didn't find, I would have loved if she was just smarter than the average Gen Xer, so she could speak to things. Even, I'm jumping so far.
No, it's fine, yeah.
Even when she gets so mad about her videos, and she's, being edited and made funny and put with like stock footage and all that. When she ever says to Ben Stiller's character, Michael, she says, I wrote it down. I worked so hard on this. My note is, you did?
Right.
All she did was let her camera roll.
That's it.
More often than not, didn't even ask questions or themes. It was just like recording her friends. There was no editing to be had. She was just capturing these moments. I don't know if that is considered working hard. I mean, I get...
As someone who used to capture moments using my video recorder, I will tell you, it's not really working hard.
We would have loved someone to edit those.
Let me tell you something. The people who I'm recording are the people who are working hard.
Right.
Because they want to entertain.
Right.
Holding a camera up and pushing the record button is not hard work. And even if you did have to come up with some questions, I mean, we had our own skits.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
It took a few minutes. The hard part is the editing.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
And ironically, that's what I do now, which isn't that funny? But that's the hard part. Figuring out what to keep, what to, discard.
Yeah.
Splicing things together, putting them in the right order. That's the hard part. The Ben Stiller part was hard.
Yeah. And I think that he actually made it better. He could have done without the stock footage stuff. I know I'm jumping, but it's like, but you're right. I mean, she didn't really, it wasn't tough work. She was just recording her friends goofing around. And I just had a hard time.
I think she wanted it to be more of an insightful thing. And he saw it as more of a commercial comedy type of thing.
Which is really hilarious because my next note is I'm not surprised that I loved this movie so much then, back in the day, because it's all pop culture.
Yes.
I stopped taking notes with the references, but everything from Charlie's Angels to Cocoa Puffs to Mr. Roper to Maxi Pads to I'm Not a Pepper to One Day at a Time to Bursting with Fruit Flavor to Marky Mark references to A Good Times drinking game.
Why didn't we ever think of that?
Right?
My goodness.
It's all these
In Melrose Place, they mentioned as well. I'm surprised. That's right. That's one of my favorite lines that I remembered it from before.
Oh,
when they were having this serious conversation. She's like, I'm just going to be one of those characters on Melrose Place. And at the end, she's like, Melrose Place is a really good show.
She's like, I thought that was here I sit, probably dying of AIDS. Oh my God.
So dramatic.
But going back to my original point, Winona Ryder, I had a real hard time with her character and even a bit with the performance. Sometimes she seems drunk and she's only drinking Diet Coke. This is said a few times. So it's like, I don't know. I kind of wish she was more upfront about her weirdness, right?
She was so and it came off as flaky, like you said. Because she's supposed to be super smart. First of all, when you go back to the valedictorian speech, if she was really smart, she would have been able to improvise a lot easier.
Or number her index cards.
Or or even remember. I mean, you're not going to just write it down and not practice it a bunch of times. You'll practice it a lot of times. And it's the end of the speech. Who's not going to remember your last line?
Right.
So it was just weird to me. That whole thing was weird. Like, really? How big was the school?
Yeah.
Like, did you have 5 people? How did you get to be this person? But also, the interactions that she had with either Troy or Michael, they were so weird. And it's like what you said. Like, I wish she had owned her weirdness. I wish she was weird. Like the Janine Garofalo character. What was her name? I didn't write it down, I don't think. I forget. Anyway, she owned her weirdness.
Yeah.
She was, she had all these crazy things on her walls, and she wrote a journal on everybody that she slept with. She was just a weird person. She owned it, and I loved that about her. Whereas Laney, is that how Laney?
Laney's the nickname, yeah.
So Laney, she thinks that she is an intellectual, but she's not.
Yeah.
In the interactions that she had with Michael, Ben Stiller's character, on that first date, it was so cringy.
Yeah.
I'm like, people aren't this awkward.
It reminded me of, Christina.
Oh, no.
Sarah Jessica Parker, in season 1, Carrie Bradshaw, when we revisited that, our second episode ever. And I wrote, a flirty Winona Ryder is an awkward thing. It's too much. she's too telegraphed. It's too Sarah Jessica Parker in season 1.
Very, very much so.
It just doesn't... It's too much.
People don't do that.
Goofy.
People
it's too
don't
goofy.
communicate that way. Especially, I mean, she was acting like a 13-year-old.
When he said, I guess I'm a non-practicing Jew, right? And she said, oh, I'm a non-practicing virgin. They don't cut to her face. She actually says it. You hear her say it, and they show Michael's face, and he has this kind of weird look on his face. I kind of wanted to see her face. Like, did you think that was a witty thing to say? Like, what is her level of self-awareness? And I don't know if the movie even knows.
Yeah,
and then again, that's a middle-aged lens thing. When I was 22 years old, I was like, I love every minute of this. Who cares? She's quirky, goofy, whatever. And how many people in their 20s have so much self-awareness? But I think when she's a lead character and so much of it rides on her decision-making and her thinking, but the audience... at least me now as a 50-year-old person, it's like to watch this, I don't often know what she's thinking.
Right.
In a bad
agree.
way.
Yeah. I agree. Yep, I agree. Her interactions with Troy are crazy. Like, everything was so intense. With everything. Everything was so intense. And I this time around, I didn't want her with either one of them. I really didn't want her with either one of them. I didn't think that she clicked with either one of them. I felt like they pushed her with Michael too quickly. Like, all of a sudden, they're like, buddy, friendly, like they're in a hotel room or something. Something was happening. But they had gone on one awkward date, and they had bonded over a Big Gulp. Which, by the way, isn't that funny that she had that, but then she had, like, the big slushy in Heather's?
Yeah, I thought, yeah.
It was, like, so similar. Weird. Anyway. But she didn't seem like she should be with either one of them.
Yeah.
I don't think she wanted to do it. And she wasn't looking for a job. She wasn't really working on her documentary aside from, like, what is she doing? She's just, like, floating through this movie. She didn't have much of a purpose.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
Yeah, very strange.
I think one thing that sticks out more to me now is because Michael spends so much time with her, like in the office, he's kind of a little odd as well and all that. But the reality is, Troy's interaction with Michael is very limited.
Yes.
These are. I don't even know if their interactions are a minute long.
Not even, yeah.
And I think they've had one interaction, and Troy says he's the reason Cliff Notes were invented. And I'm like, based on what? Like, we know that Michael might be that person.
Right.
Troy wouldn't know that at that point.
Yeah. Laney's not telling him about Michael.
No.
They never had a conversation about Michael.
Yeah.
What's funny about Michael this time around, he seemed a lot more young and inexperienced this time around.
Yeah.
But when I watched it before, he was
a man.
Exactly. He was almost too old for her, and he was successful. But this time, you're like, oh no, he's not really that successful. He's just wearing a suit, and he's still trying to get successful. But it was a totally different take on him. I actually kind of liked him in this when I watched it this time. I liked him better than I did the original viewing, for sure.
I did like, though, speaking of the whole Troy Michael and how Michael was the man and all that kind of stuff, but when he did challenge her and, like, so the Cliff Notes thing, when she ever said, I think that was a really good moment for her when she's like, well, that pales in comparison to the tweaked out...
Oh, God, yes.
To the tweaked out little skanks you date. I wrote, you go, girl.
That's right. That is right.
I like that. Like, she has some, like, that's the character I want to see. Like, it's a little inconsistent, you know?
She's very wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Very wishy-washy.
Well, because she's strong. I mean, she has to be, this is what I'm saying. She has to be smart and strong to be valedictorian and to be able to talk to someone like Troy who's kind of treating her like shit. And to call him out on it here and there. I think it's exacerbated because she sees him with another girl. But still, it's like, she shouldn't have to say those things, you know?
But I didn't even feel like, through this whole movie, I didn't feel like she really cared about being with Troy.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like she had any interest in being anything other than friends.
Until he shows interest in her.
But even after that, like, because he kisses her in the diner, and she's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if she was really that into him.
Well,
I think she was more interested in being his friend. And even that, to me, I felt like they should have focused more on the friendship between the two of them. They only had, like, 1 or 2 good friendship moments.
So you got this from the library on DVD.
I did.
I did as well. Did you get the 10th anniversary-ish?
I'm not sure.
So I watched the deleted scenes. There's a scene they cut, and it was supposed to be in the, early on in the film, after her speech, where, and after the whole top of the building stuff, right?
Yeah.
Then they show them driving. She's driving the BMW, the used BMW that she got from the parents, and the scene is called Chinese fire drill. You know, when you run around the car.
Sure.
It's unfortunate that they cut that scene because they have some really fun banter between them, and she talks about how stressed out she feels, so much pressure, and she has all this pressure because now that she's graduated, now what, and she's valedictorian, people have expectations of her, and he says some like nice things to her that kind of like soothe her. And I think she even makes a comment like of how she feels when she's with him, and Troy,
that would have
been really important.
Yes.
And then she's like, and guess what, Troy? And then she jumps out of the car like a psycho and runs around the car for the Chinese fire drill, and he doesn't. And so she runs over to his door, and he's not opening it, so she has to run back to where she started.
That's funny.
And it's super cute, but they cut it like for time, and I'm like, that was a mistake.
That was a mistake
because it's one of the few times where he's tolerable. And at the end of that scene, he's like you're crazy, and she kind of like just laughs, and he looks at her, and there's this little bit of an extra longing look that I'm like, oh, he actually likes her.
Yes,
yeah,
so that's what I was
it's
missing
too bad
for me.
Yeah,
because he just comes across as narcissistic, condescending. He almost like a little whiny, jealous bitch. Like, it doesn't even feel like his feelings towards her is very
genuine.
Are very genuine. Oh my God. It just seems like he's jealous. So it's just weird to me. Like, she doesn't seem like she's returning any of the feelings. I missed a lot of those like longing looks to her. I missed the friendship. Like I said before, I couldn't even have cared less if these two ended up together. In fact, I'm a little bit annoyed that they did end up together. Yeah. To be honest, because at my last note, not that we're going to go to the last note, but I'll say my last note. I'm like, how is this going to work moving forward?
Christina, thank you for Christina. I have never. That's a note I have later on. Talk about a middle-aged lens. I felt so cynical at the end of this movie about their relationship. Yeah. I am not... Listen, I worked retail after graduating from college. Like, I moved to New York to be with Carl. I worked retail. I was working at a couple different places. And I remember, like, being like, you know, you just... that is struggle. And it's also struggling in New York City. There, in Chicago...
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, or a suburb of Chicago or something. So it's like, but it's like, you know, they're trying to build, you have student loans. They talk about their student loans. They talk about how broke they are. They talk about, you know, the whole thing. And I'm like, wow, she has an opportunity to work with Michael in making some edits to the show, to be a little mature and figure out a middle road. It's a creative process. Like, figure it out. That's money.
Right. I mean, this is reality. Like, she's going from her, like, dream of being this filmmaker. Yeah. With clearly no experience. No. And then she finally finds somebody that has experience, and it's not exactly what she wants, but it's a door. It's an in to this industry.
He's been fired from 12 jobs. 12 jobs. Yeah. And what is the... I had that same note. I was like, what is their future?
Yeah, how is this going to...
Yeah. You know, there's things like, say Anything. When they're on the plane... you saw it?
Yes.
Okay. They're on the plane at the end. And she's going for this... She's a scholarship to the school, right? And he's tagging along and he's going to figure it out. at least you have one. You know, every relationship is two people. So it's like you have one who has something going on. Neither of these two have something real going on. And it made me very cynical and very like, ooh, I can't subscribe to this relationship.
Are they moving into an apartment together? Is that what the last scene is? With the boxes around them? Like, is that, like, where were they? I felt like they were in a different apartment.
Oh, God.
It felt different to me.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because it was clean or something.
Yeah.
But it just didn't seem, not only financially, but also maturity-wise.
Yeah.
They did not know how to communicate with each other.
No.
He was, I wrote here, there's one part where he is completely psychotic. He is completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so toxic with her. It was mostly in the bar. But he's like, gets angry and starts screaming. And then he gets on stage and he starts being really disrespectful and rude. And really mentally abusive.
Yeah.
And I said, it's one fight away from a beating.
Oh my God.
Like, seriously, I feel like if they're in a room 6 months down the line and they're in a big fight, I could see him swinging at her.
How about we wouldn't let her leave the apartment?
Right.
When he kind of beefed his chest
up
exactly.
And like, this is what I'm talking about.
And then you have, what's the gay kid's name? The actor I know is Steven, but
Steven, yeah.
But it's he's like, Troy, let her go, man. It's like, yeah, let her go. This is problematic.
This is what I'm talking about. Like, he's completely unhinged, really, really unpredictable, and
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just going to repeat that. Like, I feel like it's just
mentally
a matter
abusive.
of time.
I mean, so mentally abusive. It's beyond. When he ever says, "I am really in love with you," and he starts laughing in her face. That he needs some
mind games,
real therapy.
Real therapy.
Yeah.
And she's just falling for it. She's going to be a victim for sure. So it just didn't make any sense for them to be together without any kind of real conversation. Like, she's ready to like fly to wherever he was. Without even having a conversation after he was so mean to her.
Yeah.
Like, there was no apologies. She just missed him.
Yeah.
That's battered wife syndrome.
Yeah. It's Stockholm syndrome, right? You just get used to the behavior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just not, it wasn't cool. Like, I just felt like this whole relationship should not have happened. And, like you said, financially it's not going to happen. Like, communicating, all of that stuff just didn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm.
When they're walking along and he's giving her the tour of every place he's been fired, I just wrote, we talked about this so many times, this is some odd acting laughter. He's not saying, he's being like that, like he's over speaking, he's over describing these illustrious, awful jobs, right? And then she's like, 12 jobs, ouch. And she starts laughing. And it's like, I don't know. It's like, why are you flirting? It's like, if he's your friend, you don't really like the way he treats women, he's with skanks all the time, and you're flirting with him. And here's
the other thing. She just got fired, and she's sad.
Right.
So why is she taking this opportunity to be, a little schoolgirl with a crush? It didn't make any sense. Like, where are you, Laney? Where are you? And on the other end of it, Michael is doing everything he can. He's bending over backwards to be with her. Yeah. And do what, he's trying so hard.
Including tolerating Troy.
Oh, I know.
Oh my God.
I know.
At one point I just have this note. You can probably see it from there. Troy sucks.
Troy's awful.
Yeah. He's really a bad character. I think Ethan Hawke
I wrote, Troy is a dick.
Yeah. You should get t-shirts made. Troy's a dick. And so I think Ethan Hawke is actually quite good at playing him. I don't think there's anything wrong with the performance.
It's just the character is terrible. Terrible.
So I have to say, Janine Garofalo is so, you almost forget how good she is in this. And when she does, when they're mimicking how he's going to come out, when the gay kid's going to come out to his parents, and she's like, oh Christ. she's playing the mom, and she's like, is there a support group that I can join to help me come to terms with my own homophobia? Like, I rewound it 3 times. It was that she's so
she's really
funny.
Really good in this. She was the highlight of this movie for sure.
She was back then too.
Yes.
And she really was like that up and coming star. Like, who is she? You know?
Yeah, she's great. She really was excellent.
I laughed out loud, and I did then, I did now. When Swoozie Kurtz,
oh my God,
she says, "Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. Are they in Texas? Houston, because he goes to Chicago.
Right. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
He
right.
is.
They're in Houston. I'm sorry, everybody.
Swoozie Kurtz is awesome.
Well, you shouldn't have any trouble finding a job, Sugar Booger.
Sugar Booger. I always remembered that word, Sugar Booger. I wish I could use that more in a daily
Sugar Booger. It's so good. Although, that leads to a very funny conversation, I think, is it later on, though, when she talks about Burgerama, and she's like, you know, the other day I just saw them, and I mean it's completely inappropriate.
1,000%.
Yeah, but I remember it got a huge laugh.
It's
in
funny.
The audience. I mean, she's like, they hired a little retarded boy down at the Burgerama. She's like, why don't you just work at the Burgerama? She's like, because I'm not retarded, Mom.
Right. She's trying to explain like she's valedictorian, like she has a future.
Yeah.
And she shouldn't have to be working in, like, a burger barn.
That's right, yeah.
And the parents have no clue.
No clue.
No clue.
Yeah. And I think that, and she's like, well, money's tight, and they just want her to see. And then her parents are divorced. Her dad says he wants to see her put some ingenuity into create opportunities for herself.
And she did.
I mean, so it is funny.
I always thought that was a really good idea. Like, when I remember even watching, I'm like, this is brilliant. I love that she's doing
the gas card.
The gas card, yeah.
Yeah, that was actually a good montage.
Yes.
Like, I liked it. Like, she was actually really using her head. And it's, then at the end, he's like, why do I have a $900, gas card
That's
bill?
funny. Yeah. Yes, that's funny.
But I did like Swoozie Kurtz a lot. I really like that scene. I know that word is completely inappropriate, but in '94, I guess it was more accepted, and that was a funny scenario. You look
the kiss between them was gross. Troy and Laney, the first kiss, he is like eating her face. Yeah. It was so gross to me. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
No.
For me, it's because we know he smokes a lot.
That's
and
true.
And they're always getting high.
Yep.
So I'm imagining what his breath, let alone what his body smells like.
I'm just imagining being the recipient of someone's mouth on top of my entire face. Yeah. Like, that is not a good kiss, people.
No.
Not a good kiss. Don't even call it passion.
He's greasy.
It's gross. Yeah. It's really gross. I also wrote, watching Hey, Don't Steal My Bike makes me miss Citizen Dick.
Oh my God, I don't even know these references.
So, Hey, Don't Steal My Bike was the name of Troy's band.
Right, yeah.
Citizen Dick
Singles!
Is in Singles with Matt Dillon. And then I couldn't help but compare Matt Dillon, his character, with Troy's character. Like, Matt Dillon's character in Singles is so charming and cute and fun, and you just love him. And Troy is just an ass.
Yeah.
There's no charm.
Yeah.
There's no, I didn't feel him he didn't seem like someone I would even want to know.
Matt Dillon's character in Singles, he knew, almost like he knew what he was and he wasn't happy. Right, because it's you saw his facial expressions all the time. Like, he had some self-awareness. And and to the point where, I think even he thought he wasn't good enough for Janet, right? And the band had some success. Mm-hmm. And, so but there's a humility about him where Troy thinks he knows everything there is to know. And what's so funny about this now that I'm older, is that I would actually wonder if a person like Troy watches that much TV. To quote TV commercials like that.
Right. Wouldn't he be reading philosophical books?
Yeah, absolutely. That's my thought. He'd be reading international newspapers and really staying on the knowing what's going on in the world and how screwed we all are.
It'd be the Matt Damon character.
He's probably not
Hunting.
He's probably not right. Exactly. He's probably not doing a rewatch of Good Times. Is my challenge on that. Okay, so my next note is really about the cameos that pop up. Did you notice who played Tammy, Troy's fling, in the very beginning?
It was Renee Zellweger.
Very good.
But I did not notice her. I noticed her name in the credits.
Oh, I noticed her right away.
And I'm like, holy shit, Renee Zellweger. Who is she?
Yeah.
And I looked her up.
Yeah.
But that was pretty funny.
Yeah. And
so it's okay. You can go.
Define irony. That woman is...
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Anne Mara, who is Ben Stiller's...
Oh, Ben Stiller's... Oh, my God, of course.
Ben Stiller's mom.
Ben Stiller's mom. Yeah. And then Jeanine Tripplehorn.
Jean Tripplehorn.
Did I say what? Jean? Oh, yeah, Jean Tripplehorn from Basic Instinct fame.
Yep, did the hip-hop
She was
couture.
the in-your-face...
And you know that Jean Tripplehorn was dating...
Was he
Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller?
They dated for 6 years. From 1990 to 96.
But I actually pointed out Anne Mara to Emily.
Mm-hmm.
That's Ben Stiller's mother. So she watched it with me because she's a big fan of Winona Ryder.
Yeah. So I'm about to jump way into this.
Go right ahead. I don't have a whole lot of notes on this, to be honest.
I wrote down, and I said it earlier too, the edited videos that Michael did with his team, they're actually not bad. They're very entertaining. I would have chopped out all the stock footage.
Yes.
And then the only thing I found offensive is, but I feel like they set it up for that. I think they themselves is we're on the road to nowhere when they show the graduating class walking down the street,
right,
and they play the road to nowhere. Like that, I could see her being like, "That's a little harsh." Like it's one of those things where it's like I can insult myself. Let me just get this out. Like I can insult myself, but if someone's going to mock me in my own footage, in my own project, and then use it against me over something I already feel, I would think I would be hurt by that to a degree. But I do think the whole movie is them shitting on everything, that everything's awful. All he did was make it entertaining. Yeah. And make it more bite-size.
Well, and he didn't even make it.
That's true. He hadn't even seen it. Christina, that's true. I'm sorry.
And she treats him like such a villain.
Like
he really is just doing his best by her.
1,000.
And he even bought tickets to New York.
Yep.
So that they can present her actual documentary to a different set of people or whatever. And nothing ever, she didn't even, I don't know. That bothered me. The fact that he gave up so quickly and just threw, first of all, how much do those tickets cost? You just throw them in the puddle. Can't you just take a trip to New York?
No.
That bothered me back then. It bothered me now.
Yeah.
But the fact that he gave up so quickly on her and didn't feel like even one more conversation with her would have been worth it.
So
same with her. She should have had another conversation with him.
Well, guess what?
What?
There's another deleted
scene with them.
It's ridiculous. The scene Ben Stiller wanted to shoot near a waterfall. So there's this waterfall, and they're sitting there, and they're talking about exactly what we're talking about. And Christina, I feel like that scene is an hour and a half long. It is painful. Every other line is, I don't know, I don't know. Well, both of them, Michael is you get the sense of how young he actually is. But what he is saying to her is, let's still work together and do something with this. And she says, no. I don't think that's right. I don't know. I don't think that's right, Michael. I mean...
Why? Because Troy will beat me if I still work with you, is probably what it is.
It very much felt like she didn't want to hurt Troy with this friendship.
So dumb. Oh, that's so dumb.
I mean, thank
God
God they
didn't. I'm glad they cut it.
He said they cut it because the sound was really bad, and they didn't want to loop the whole thing and do a voiceover of the whole thing because the waterfall. But... it was also a bad scene.
Yeah. I mean, they should have had some kind of even a phone conversation.
Yeah.
Would have worked. Just one more conversation. There was no reason why she had to act the way she did, why he gave up so quickly after all he was doing for her. And a lot is on the line for him, too. Mm-hmm. His career is on the line here.
basically set his car on fire with a cigarette.
Oh my God, that scene bothered me so much. Because he's on the phone and he's trying to talk to these people.
Yeah.
And the radio is so loud he can't hear it.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he just turn down the fucking radio?
I know. That was dumb.
That bothered me so much.
It bothered me when she dropped... Yep.
And then, yes, the cigarette...
She drops the statue, though, in the office. You laughed?
I laughed.
Oh, did you?
I actually laughed about that. Like, I don't think... She didn't do it on purpose, obviously.
No.
But that made me laugh. And the other part... I liked that scene with them, actually. That first scene in the office. That made me laugh. And then also I liked when... She's like, no, I don't have a lawyer. I don't have a dentist.
I did like that.
That laughed. Yeah, that made me laugh.
Okay, so now we're really in the home stretch here. And I wrote... Okay.
Sorry, that's my chair,
it's the chair. It's a new year, same chair. many clips in the Reality Bites video that Michael's team put together were originally done to make each other laugh. Right? Like Janine's character, all the characters, they were trying to crack each other up. Like in most of those shots, right? But she gets mad when other people laugh. And again, I think the only bad move they made was that graduation sequence with Road to Nowhere. But when you set yourself up, and they went through all that footage, Laney, and they're the people that know how to make TV.
Right.
What were you thinking?
Like, where do you want this documentary
what do you want it to be? Yeah.
Do you want it to be just in the movie theaters and make $10?
Oh.
Or do you want it to be on something like an MTV?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess,
maybe
she's trying to stick by her convictions or something. I don't know what
it is. I absolutely will say that I laughed then and I laughed now. And I think it's some of her better scenes in this movie is with the psychic.
Oh my God, it's so good.
It's so funny.
Good.
She's basically like helping the psychic with her her love life. Oh
and she's
my God.
Like, yes, this is uncanny. So funny. I also liked the scene in the 7-Eleven when they started dancing to My Sharona. I always liked that little scene. I thought that was really cute and fun. I could see me doing that at that age, just dancing to the song. Yeah. Because you don't care. And
I agree. I like that scene as well. That felt a little like, oh my God, Heather's, I guess, when they were in there and she had walked out ahead of them.
Yes.
Probably the same thing with the Slurpee and the slushy thing. Yeah. So then I have another note. How does Michael always know where she is? Like, they don't have cell phones.
I know. Right? He just walks in the bar.
He knows she's in the diner, and then the coffee shop, and the bar. It's like all
so
three. Like,
funny.
He just walks in. Like, and it's like, he's like, hey, and she's like, Michael! Meaning she's surprised.
Yes.
I mean, I guess she only hangs out at a few places, but that's
in the coffee shop when he calls.
Quite the guess, yeah.
That was like, I thought that was really funny when the two of them are talking.
Yeah. And
they hear Laney, whatever.
Oh, they start laughing.
You have a phone call, and they're like, yes? Like, okay. So funny.
I did laugh. I laughed when they laughed. Like, they were so awkward and embarrassing. Yeah, that's very...
But you're right. Michael
always knew where she was.
I mean, who was he calling?
Because she was always... Because the thing is, if she wasn't surprised, but she's always surprised, like, oh my God. And it's like, yeah, it is kind of like, oh my God, how did he even know she was there?
Did people do that back then before cell phones?
Just showing up and hope you're going to find that person? Okay. Then I have the question of questions. How was this a hard decision for her? Michael is cute, clean, successful, and wants to help her with her career. Mm-hmm. Troy treats her like a stranger after they have sex. He's sensitive, judgy, and a total wuss.
And abusive. Like completely abusive and unpredictable.
Yeah.
He just loses his temper.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going nowhere. That band sucked.
I did groan when the gay kid, Stephen Zahn's character's like, hey, this is my date, Lance. I'm like, really? The one other gay guy in the whole movie and you have to name him Lance?
Yeah, that's bad.
Sorry to anyone
his little scene. His little scene coming out was touching to me.
Yeah, but she basically tossed him out of the house.
Right, but it was. I thought it was touching. Like, I thought he did a nice job being so.
Yes, upset. I thought he was kind of goofy until that scene.
Yes, agreed.
And then I wrote, and this is maybe nostalgic, I miss the sad music video montage. When U2, All I Want Is You, when that song plays, everyone's like being sad and she's struggling and sad and somber. Like, I kind of miss that.
I feel like some TV shows, nice. I liked that montage as well.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was like very. I think it's when they're well acted, it tells a lot. I think sometimes it's a cheap way out.
Yes,
but I think when it can be done well, I think Reality Bites does a good job with that. To that song.
Agreed.
And
it's a good song.
And believe it or not, I mean, I have some trivia, but I don't
think I have any other notes.
Christina, the big question: more, less, or about the same?
Definitely less.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely less.
So I also have less. I wrote marginally less. I love all the pop cultural references. It's fun, and the fun, happy stuff. And Winona, and when Winona is a strong character, like when she fights.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it aged well. The female protagonist is basically a whiner with
that was the thing. Everybody was whining.
With little interpersonal intelligence.
Yes.
It's truly, something bad happens, she runs out of the room. I think that happens 3 times in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
I didn't feel like the relationships were very well developed either. I liked her relationship with Janine Garofalo, but aside from the other ones, they just weren't really developed enough.
And I'm sorry, I have one more note. I said at some point, I feel like the final 25% of this movie becomes about Troy.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really changes its focus. It's
like,
weird.
Where is she? Like, it totally changed its focus from the beginning.
So before we get to, I have a match game question, but I have some trivia.
Okay.
So the writer is Helen Childress. I'm assuming I'm saying that right. She wrote 70 different drafts over 3 years. Yeah.
Wow.
It was harder to get it made, actually, because Singles wasn't the hit they were hoping it would be.
Oh, interesting.
Winona Ryder read the script and really liked it, and then suddenly all this money appeared, you know. Jean Garofalo said that Parker Posey, Anne Heche, and Gwyneth Paltrow also auditioned, and the studio really wanted Gwyneth because, quote, this girl is going to be a big star.
Interesting.
But what happened in the interim of that is that Winona Ryder met Jean Garofalo and was like, I love you. And Jean Garofalo had worked with Ben Stiller on the Ben Stiller Show. So,
right.
However,
during
production, Jean Garofalo allegedly got fired by Ben Stiller and then hired back later on for being, quote, difficult. She hated rehearsing, is the story there.
I could see you're definitely more of like an improv-y kind of person, too.
Yeah. And then Michael Shamberg, I'm pretty sure, right? Michael Shamberg and Danny DeVito produced
this,
right?
Danny DeVito. I wrote produced by Danny DeVito. Yeah. That was surprising.
Michael Shamberg did The Big Chill.
Interesting.
He produced that, yeah.
We just did that.
We sure did. All right, Christina.
So, I have a match game.
Yay!
Do you have a match game?
I have 2 because I feel like I wasn't sure which one to go with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'll go first?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Troy, believe it or not, ended up being a terrible husband.
Oh, no.
For their anniversary, instead of taking her to a fancy restaurant, he took her to blank. Pen is very loud.
Ding!
Ding. Okay, Troy, big surprise, was not a very good husband. For their anniversary, instead of taking her to a fancy restaurant, he took her to...
All right. See his band play at the coffee shop.
That's a terrible anniversary gift, for sure.
Yeah.
I did not have a match.
Oh.
I said he took her to the 7-Eleven. Because she's going to have to pay for everything.
Oh.
And it's not very fancy.
All righty.
Not a match.
Well, all Christina, right, we talked about Sammy. Oh, that's his name.
Oh,
because I think I was getting confused with Tammy.
Yeah,
his character. So Sammy's mom, sadly, it's very sad.
Yes.
She still hasn't quite accepted her son's sexual orientation. In fact, for Christmas, she gave him blank.
Okay. I think I got this. Okay. Ding.
Ding. All right. For Christmas, Sammy's mom gave him blank.
A mail order bride.
No, it's not a batch, but that's very good. I put his things.
Oh,
I know.
Poor Sammy.
Well, we already threw him out.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And that is Reality Bites. And that's it for us and for this episode of Old Roommates.
Thank you for listening. Please remember to follow us on Instagram or YouTube, where we have our episodes and a little extra.
And if you have any questions about our show, any suggestions for movies we could revisit, reach out to us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com.
Thanks again for listening.
This is Brian.
And this is Christina. Until next time.